The wildlife bridge camera recorded every crossing. But one night, the footage refused to make sense. The same bobcat, every single night, striding across the overpass as if following an invisible clock.
The camera doesn't lie. Same bobcat, same time, every night. Why?
David Reeves counted 41 consecutive nights. He played the footage again, then again, disbelief tightening his chest.
Territorial patrol? Then why? So precise? Why never a single deviation?
His colleagues dismissed it. Just a territorial mail, they said. But the pattern gnawed at David.
This isn't a patrol route. She's going somewhere deliberately. But where?
He mounted motion-triggered cameras at both ends of the bridge, hiding them in the brush. The only way to know was to follow her path.
Where do you vanish to every night? And why do you always return before dawn?
The answers were out there, moving through the dark under the highway. He just had to catch them. 3 days later, Dr. Elena Marquez appeared in David's doorway with a printed memo and a grim expression.
The Highway Department review is in 2 weeks. If they don't see proof this bridge is working, the funding gets cut.
I might have something. A bobcat crossed the same bridge 41 nights in a row, same time, within minutes.
One bobcat, David. One anecdotal bobcat. They'll bury us with that. We need a corridor, not a lucky stray.
She thinks it's nothing, but the precision, that's not luck.
Prove it's a real pattern. Cameras at both exits, David. Show me which direction she travels, and hurry.
David had already started. 2 motion-triggered cameras waited at the bridge ends, recording silent answers.
She'll cross tonight. The cameras will tell me which direction she comes from.
The review deadline pressed down like a weight, but the pattern was there, waiting to be read. If he could just trace that nightly line, it might save more than a bridge. It might save her. A week later, David pulled the memory cards from both cameras and fed the footage into his computer. The west camera caught her each night at 10:17 p.m., slipping into the forest. The east camera saw her return at 4:42 a.m.
West every night, east before dawn. That's not a patrol circuit. That's a deliberate commute.
David plotted every timestamp on a paper map, pushpins tracing a straight, unwavering line. No deviation in 41 nights.
She isn't patrolling territory. She's going somewhere she has to go, then returning before dawn.
But necessary for what? Food? Mates? Without GPS tracking, every theory was just a guess. He checked the department budget for GPS collars. The line item was 0.
No collars, no way to follow her. I need tracking data, but I can't afford the tools. There has to be another way.
Frustration tightened his jaw, but the pattern insisted on being heard. He wouldn't let it fade into forgotten data. He stared at the one thin line of pins crossing that bridge and wondered what secret lay waiting at the end of it. Thomas Hardy arrived like a man who had already decided the outcome. He spread budget sheets across the conference table.
41 nights, Reeves. That's one animal. One animal doesn't justify millions in concrete and landscaped overpasses.
But the consistency, the precise timing, it suggests she's commuting for a critical reason. If we can figure out why.
If, maybe, could, I build highways on if. The next budget cuts this bridge unless you give me numbers that scream essential.
Hardy gathered his papers and left, the threat hanging in the air like exhaust. The bridge funding was on life support.
That went as expected. David, you need something undeniable. The direction data is good, but it's still just movement.
I think she's crossing to access separate habitats. Food on one side, maybe a den on the other. Something she needs daily.
Then find evidence, David. But without GPS collars, how? The budget is 0. You'd need someone else's data.
Then David remembered. A university research team had GPS-collared bobcats in this corridor 3 years ago.
Anya Petrov's study. If she still has the tracking data, that could be my proof.
David sent a carefully worded email to Dr. Anya Petrov asking for any GPS data from her bobcat study. 3 days of silence. He refreshed his inbox obsessively, the review deadline tightening around his ribs. Then the subject line appeared. Bobcat tracking data. He opened the message with trembling fingers. The attached file contained 6 months of GPS points for a female bobcat tagged BC-17. He imported them into his map. Red dots lit up the screen. A tight cluster on the east side, then a straight line across the bridge, spreading west before contracting again at dawn.
That east cluster, she returns there every morning. It's not just a resting spot, it's a den.
The GPS data aligned perfectly with his trail camera timestamps. Every night, she crossed to hunt. Every dawn, she came back to that exact spot.
She has cubs. That's the only reason a bobcat would commute like this. She can't move them, so she crosses every night to feed them.
David printed the map and circled the den site in red. The abstract data now had a pulse. He had coordinates. He had a theory. Now, he needed to see the proof with his own eyes before the funding deadline swallowed everything. David and a field assistant hiked to the GPS coordinates before dawn, moving quietly through the underbrush. They set a motion-triggered camera 50 yards from the rocky outcrop, angled toward the den entrance, then retreated. 3 days later, he reviewed the footage. Then his breath caught.
2 cubs. She's been feeding them every night. The bridge is her only safe route.
He printed the clearest image and carried it into Elena's office, his hand unsteady.
BC-17 is a mother. She crosses the bridge every night to hunt because her cubs are stranded on the other side.
You are certain? The GPS matches this den, and the camera caught her with cubs?
41 nights of footage, Elena. The bridge isn't a luxury. It's the only reason those cubs are alive.
This changes everything. Make a presentation for the Wildlife Commission. We'll go straight to them.
David nodded, but inside he already knew. Hardy would fight this. The hard part wasn't finding the truth. It was getting the world to believe it. David worked late, arranging slides, the crossing log, GPS map, den photo, solid data, but sterile. Historical satellite images showed the wound. A logging project 10 years ago split the forest in 2. The bridge was the only stitch.
She didn't choose this commute. The highway carved her territory in half.
In his notes, he named her Luna. Less a statistic, more a mother with a clockwork sacrifice, but previewing the slides left him hollow. Would a budget committee care about one bobcat's devotion?
Data doesn't make people angry. Data doesn't break through numbers first.
He needed an image that would haunt them after the projector went dark.
Where's the proof that without the bridge, Luna doesn't just struggle, she disappears?
He dug into old department archives, searching for anything that could turn a spreadsheet into a heartbeat. The clock was running. Without that missing piece, the commission would see 41 nights, not the 42nd, that might never come. David scrolled through a forgotten folder labeled Highway Monitoring 2019 and found a single JPG titled BC Near Miss 0914.
The image stopped my breath. A bobcat frozen on the shoulder, headlights blazing toward her.
The file metadata placed the capture at the exact GPS coordinates where the wildlife bridge now stood.
6 weeks before the bridge opened. That night, Luna would have died on that asphalt.
He printed the photo and walked into Elena's office without knocking, his face pale.
Elena, look at this. Same location. Same bobcat, I'm certain. This is who we're building for.
David, this photo. When was it taken? And you are sure it's the same bobcat?
5 years ago, weeks before the bridge. Without it, Luna would be roadkill. Her cubs wouldn't exist.
This is the heart of your presentation. Schedule it with the commission. I'll make sure you get the floor.
David submitted the formal request with the near-miss photo attached. The reply came in hours, hearing granted in 10 days. The pre-hearing agenda review was a formality until Thomas Hardy stepped into the hallway.
This presentation is emotional manipulation, not science. You are trying to bypass proper cost review.
The data meets every submission standard. You can't veto a presentation because you disagree with the outcome.
The commission's scheduler glanced at the file, then at Hardy. The presentation stays. Mr. Hardy. Hardy's jaw tightened. He said nothing more, but his stare promised a war in the hearing room.
He'll twist every fact. I have to be ready, not just right, but unassailable.
You've got 10 days. Practice until you can deliver it in your sleep. I'll handle the procedural side.
David rehearsed in front of a mirror, note cards trembling, every slide, every transition. The exact second the near-miss photo would flash, he pinned the near-miss photo above his monitor, next to the image of Luna at the den, a before and after that. Refused to let him quit.
41 nights brought me here. One presentation. Make it count.
The morning of the hearing, David stood in the hallway in a borrowed blazer, the near-miss photo tucked inside his jacket. Then the doors swung open.
41 nights. Same Bobcat, same time, within minutes. This is not a random crossing. This is a deliberate, daily commute.
He advanced to the GPS slide, a red dotted line tracing the bridge like a lifeline between two green islands of habitat.
We call her Luna. She returns every dawn to a den where two cubs wait. Without the bridge, she hunts less, or she doesn't return at all.
Then he darkened the room and displayed the grainy, near-miss image, Luna frozen on the shoulder, headlights bearing down.
This photo was taken at the exact GPS point of this bridge, 6 weeks before it opened. Without it, Luna dies. Her cubs never exist. The bridge saved a family.
He paused. The silence in the room was heavy enough to cut. A commissioner with glasses raised her hand, not to attack, but to ask, "What do you need from us?"
Approval for 2 more bridges. A commitment to reconnect the forest. Give Luna's cubs a fighting chance when they leave the den.
Hardy's face remained stone, but the vote was set for the following week. David stepped down, the near-miss photo still warm against his chest. The Q&A phase opened. Hardy's voice cut through the murmur before anyone else could speak.
One Bobcat doesn't prove a corridor. This is a single lucky break. You can't build policy on an anecdote.
Mr. Hardy, wildlife vehicle collisions near this bridge dropped 67% since it opened. That's not anecdote, that's data.
He clicked to a map where red crash marker pins near the highway had vanished after the bridge's construction. A commissioner leaned forward, her voice softer than Hardy's but just as pointed. And the cost of those collisions? Can we put a price on preventing extinction of a local family? Hardy's jaw worked, but no reply came. Around the table, heads nodded. The chair raised a hand. The commission will deliberate and vote in 7 days. We are adjourned. The gavel sounded.
She didn't attack. She invited them to see what I see. Maybe that's enough.
David packed his laptop, the near-miss photo still pressed inside his jacket. The waiting had teeth.
1 week. Luna will cross 6 more times before I know if I saved her.
Each day of the waiting week, David returned to the bridge. Luna still crossed. Her cubs were larger, but the vote loomed larger than the forest. Elena's name lit up his phone. He set the camera down and answered under the oak.
The commission is sealed tight. I can't read them. Don't let hope blind you, David.
Blind? Number. I am just preparing for 2 different mornings.
That evening, he opened a blank document. The cursor blinked against the silence.
Subject. If one Bobcat isn't enough, what is?
He pasted the near-miss photo, the GPS map, the cub data, a ready-made appeal for the public. He saved the file under a folder called Field Notes, hidden in plain sight. The icon sat on his desktop like a loaded gun. He closed the laptop.
If they say yes, I delete it. If they say no, I send it to every newsroom in the state. Either way, Luna doesn't disappear.
The morning of the vote, David stood on the wildlife bridge before sunrise, the highway below still glowing with headlights.
She'll cross tonight, same as always. No matter what they decide, match that.
He returned to his office, the file still waiting on his desktop. The cursor hovered over it like a question.
1 click ends my career, or saves hers. Fair trade.
He sat motionless, the wall clock ticking. Minutes stretched like wire, footsteps in the hallway. A silhouette through the frosted glass. Elena. She didn't pause. She opened the door without knocking. Her face was stone, unreadable.
They voted. Come with me.
David rose, his legs weightless. The file icon glowed on his screen, question still waiting.
Whatever she says next, that file either gets deleted or goes live. Either way, Luna won't vanish.
Elena led him into her office, A conference call was already live, the speakerphone glowing on her desk. The commission secretary's voice cut through the static. The motion passed 6-1, approving 2 new wildlife bridges in extended monitoring. She added a line that turned David's knees to water. The evidence regarding the individual Bobcat, Luna, was particularly persuasive. David stood paralyzed. Then, a disbelieving smile broke across his face.
You did it, David. You made them see a single Bobcat can change the map.
Thank you for believing me when all I had was a hunch and a blurry photo.
He felt a breath he'd been holding for weeks finally release. Then he opened his laptop and dragged the press release file into the trash.
The backup plan is gone. Good. That means the real plan worked. Luna will cross tonight, and her cubs will grow. Now they'll have somewhere to go.
Within hours, a news alert lit up local phones. Commission votes to build 2 new wildlife corridors. The article opened with Luna's trail cam image and a single bold line, Bobcat mom secures future corridors.
They used her photo. She's the face of this now, not me. Good.
A local reporter found David at his office. He kept his answers short and aimed them back at the bridge.
The hero here is a Bobcat named Luna. I just followed the data. She did the hard part.
That evening, he returned to the bridge alone. The highway hummed below, but his focus was on his phone screen. He opened the live camera feed. The same low-angle view he'd been watching for months. Right on time, Luna stepped into frame. Behind her, 2 half-grown cubs, no longer toddling, but almost her size.
Thanks, 41.
The Bobcat disappeared into the West Forest, and David stayed, listening to the traffic that no longer sounded like a threat. Months later, David stood at the site of the first new bridge, a hard hat shading his eyes from the sun. Steel beams and concrete footings rose where once only highway noise had echoed. Blueprints became ground truth.
Luna's cubs are adults now. They'll never know a forest without a bridge.
Inside a planning room, a flat screen displayed a corridor map with new bridge icons. GPS collar budget, fully allocated. A commissioner's voice carried through the room. We need someone to lead the expanded monitoring program. Someone who knows this. Started with 1 Bobcat. David accepted. The project was bigger than Luna now, but she remained its steady pulse. After the meeting, he walked outside and looked toward the original bridge, now just 1 link in a growing network. He checked the live trail cam. Luna's daughter, now fully grown, crossed the bridge with a single kitten at her flank.
32 species recorded so far, all because one mother never missed a night.
The new collars would tell deeper stories soon. For now, 1 familiar silhouette on the green-tinted screen was enough. A year to the day after his first discovery, David returned to the original bridge, the sky softening toward dusk. He knelt beside the weatherproof camera, the same model that had caught Luna on that first unbelievable night. He swapped the memory card and scrolled through the latest captures right there, on the grass as the highway hummed below.
There she is. Older, slower, leading just 1 cub now. The other must have dispersed.
In the grainy green image, Luna paused mid-bridge and looked back toward the east forest, the same route she'd always taken.
41 nights just to feed them. Now they have 3 bridges. That's the math that matters.
He looked down at the near-miss photo still saved on his phone. The contrast was a quiet monument. He closed the camera housing and tightened the strap, the same routine he'd done 100 times, but this time heavier. The sun slipped below the tree line, and the bridge grew dark. Headlights streaked below, but the path above belonged to the wild.
1 Bobcat didn't just change a policy. She changed how we map survival.
Back in his office, David slid 2 photographs into a single frame, the grainy near-miss beside Luna, crossing the new bridge, her full-grown cub at her flank. He opened the dog-eared field journal and wrote a final line. Project 41. Bobcat road mortality within the corridor, 0 since Q3.
0, a number that started with 41. Funny how math works when you are patient.
He surveyed the wall above his desk, crowded now with maps, photos, and a bright panorama of the 3 bridges.
Every pushpin, every trail cam, every late night, they're all right there on that wall.
The office phone rang. A colleague from the adjacent county, calling for advice on a similar corridor.
Start with 1 animal, follow the pattern. Let the data tell you a story that the numbers can't ignore.
He cradled the receiver and allowed himself a quiet, private smile.
The data always had a story. I just learned to listen.
Outside, traffic flowed beneath the bridges. Inside, the quiet hum of success was enough. The cameras recorded more than bobcats. A white-tailed deer stepped onto the overpass, hooves silent on the gravel. A red fox with a bushy tail crossed the same bridge, pausing to sniff the night air. A family of raccoons ambled across in a clumsy line. 5 sets of masked eyes blinking in the infrared. Then, on the original bridge, the camera caught a familiar silhouette, a bobcat with a cub, Luna's daughter, now a mother. The cub was small, maybe 8 weeks, staying close to her flank as they crossed together. Night deepened. The image shifted to a live camera frame. Grainy and green, the bridge empty under starlight. The feed held for a long moment, then began to fade, slowly, toward black. Over the dark screen, the sound of crickets rose, the same sound Luna heard on her 41st crossing. In the years since, over 1,200 crossings by 40 species have been recorded. One bobcat started it all. The screen remained black for a few seconds more. Then the video ended. But in memory, the 41 nights never really ended. They just became a first chapter. Months later, David Reeves stood before a packed auditorium, a slide of Luna glowing behind him.
One bobcat, one bridge. That's all it took to rewrite a region's conservation plan.
The audience leaned forward, seeing not a statistic, but a mother who never missed a night. Outside the lecture hall, Luna's daughter still crossed that same old bridge, a tiny cub pressed against her flank. Beneath the overpass, traffic no longer divided the forest, it simply passed through, unnoticed by the wild above. The cameras kept recording, night after night, crossing after crossing, 40 species, each one a silent witness, because sometimes the most important evidence isn't in a spreadsheet. It walks across a bridge. 41 nights was just the beginning, and the bridge camera is still running. In winter, snow draped the overpass like a silent promise, bobcat tracks stitched across the white. When spring came, wildflowers bloomed along the edges, and the cameras caught a doe leading her fawn across for the first time. In autumn, the leaves turned gold and fell softly onto the gravel, a carpet for the animals that no longer feared the highway. Luna's granddaughter paused on the original bridge, her ears swiveling toward a distant hawk cry. Then she continued, her own cub trotting at her heels, vanishing into the west woods as so many had before. Back in his quiet office, David opened the latest trail cam folder on his computer, the number of crossings climbing still. He didn't need to count anymore. The pattern had proven itself, and the world had listened. Outside, under the same moon that had lit 41 nights, another bobcat crossed the bridge, the camera's green eye catching the shape of a quiet, ongoing victory. No siren, no headline, just the steady, living proof that one determined animal can change the map. And somewhere, in the dark, padding silently over the grass, another mother was already on her way. In the hush of deep night, the original bridge camera blinked its green light once, then waited. A familiar shape emerged from the east woods, an old bobcat, grayer around the muzzle, but the gait was unmistakable. She paused at the center, ears swiveling, as if listening to voices that had long since dispersed. Then she kept walking, her trail vanishing into the west, where the forest had been stitched back together. The camera's memory card clicked over, storing the 42nd night, the 43rd, on into uncounted numbers. That silence was not empty. It was full of proof that a single repeated act of survival can rewrite a landscape. No siren, no headline, just the steady, living proof that one determined animal can change the map. And somewhere in the dark, padding silently over the grass, another mother was already on her way. 4. The wildlife bridge camera caught the same bobcat crossing 41 nights in a row. And still, she crosses,